tested. Hi, I'm Will Smith with Tested.com. Today I'm going to show you how to upgrade your laptop with an SSD. I'm going to use a 13-inch Macbook Pro. It's a fairly simple, straightforward computer, maybe a little bit more difficult than others to get into. Let's get started. All you need today to make this happen, screwdriver, and you'll need something with a Torx 6 head on it. You need that to get the hard drive pins off of the hard drive inside the Mac. So if you don't have that, don't start. You can get it at any hardware store pretty much. As always, I'm going to start by taking a piece of masking tape and sticking it to the table so I can hold all my screws in place without losing any of them, hopefully. Okay, so this is a 13-inch MacBook Pro. It looks like 10 screws on the back. There's some different lengths. I'm gonna start in the top left corner and just work my way around the edge. So it looks like there's 3 long screws in the MacBook Pro, and then all the rest are the same length. They're all very short and small. So one of the things that, while you're doing this, it's not a bad idea, especially if you have a notebook that's a little bit inaccessible like the MacBook Pro, you might want to think about doing a memory upgrades and anything else you want to do while you have the case open. So here's memory. This is what we really care about though, it's the hard drive. In order to get it out, we need to release these 2 screws right here, and they're not going to come all the way out, they just hold this bracket in place, and the bracket locks the whole hard drive kind of assembly into position. Like I said, they won't come all the way out. You just want them to get loose enough to lift the whole bracket out. And then the next thing is you'll lift the hard drive out. You want to be gentle with this because this ribbon cable is kind of delicate. This is a SATA cable and it carries the power as well. As you can see, there's a connector on the back. Now, since this is a standard hard drive, you can just pop the connector off really easily. You want to kind of apply even force. Don't let it get too far ahead on one side or the other. And it's off. Now, the tricky part about Macs is that in this particular model, they use these little nubs on the side. In order to get the nubs out, you have to use your Torx head. So I'm going to switch my screwdriver over to Torx mode. I just replaced the screw head. And I'm going to unscrew these, and we'll need to put these on the new drive before I can put it into the MacBook. So for a quick screw recap, we have 3 large, long screws that were with the hinge facing away from you, the closest to the hinge on the right, the middle hinge, and then the other middle hinge. The rest of the ones around the outside edge are these little tiny short screws right here. There should be 7 of those, if my math is right. And then these guys right here are actually, they're Torx heads, as you can see, but they screw into the hard drive and they're used to hold the hard drive in place inside the MacBook's chassis. So now it's time to put the SSD drive in the MacBook Pro. This is a Western Digital 256 gigabyte SSD flash drive. What that means is instead of having a spinning platter inside this guy that has moving parts and all sorts of stuff that can go wrong, it's just flash memory, just like in your digital camera or smartphone. So it means it's resistant to shock, temperature, all sorts of other stuff, and it's incredibly fast compared to something that has spinning moving parts. So let me show you how to put this in, then we'll fire up the Mac and restore our drive image to it and get going. So the first thing we need to do is put these little drive posts back into this drive that we took out of the Seagate hard drive just a moment ago. So I'm gonna get them started with my fingers, and then I'll finish them up with the screwdriver here. So these can be tightened down. You don't want to do it too tight, but again, you also don't want to have any wobble. Okay, 4 posts. It's time to hook the data connector and the power connector up to the drive. Again, be really careful of this ribbon cable. You'll note that the pins on the drive line up with these little holes inside the MacBook. So you just slide it in here, slide it in, drops into place, and it kind of clicks down into place. Put this bracket back in the laptop. So we put it down, it lines up again, and just screw it down. It's real simple, it takes about 2 seconds. You don't want to over tighten, definitely don't want to strip. But that should be all there is to it. So now the drive's connected, it's back in the MacBook. All we need to do is close up the case and restore your latest OS backup onto the drive. And you'll be back in business. 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, depends on how much data is on the drive. Okay, so now it's time to put the lid back on the laptop. You want to make sure you line everything up right. You can kind of look through the holes. Hold on, let's see, I gotta get the vents down in the back. Line up, as you can see, or maybe you can't, but the holes line up pretty well, and you want to make sure it's lined up all the way around because it's easy to get these on a little bit and then actually have real problems getting the last 2 or 3 screws in. So what I usually do is start a couple, and usually I go corners first and just get them a little bit started. One of the things that's important to note is these screws are not all straight up and down. Some of them kind of angle in from the outside edge of the computer to the inside edge, kind of, you know, like this or like this. So let's do the corners, and remember, these three right here are the long screws, so you don't want to do those with the short screws, or you're not going to find anything to screw into. I think I just said screw about 35 times. So the general rule, once you get all four corners in, you're safe to go around the rest of the edges. So after I get the lid back on, we'll want to hook up to, I use a time capsule to back up my Mac. If you use a time capsule, then it's really easy to do. You just put the OS disk back in the drive and choose the restore option. You'll probably have to actually format the drive first using Disk Manager on Mac. On Windows, it really depends on what backup client you use as to how you'll restore stuff. If you're using home server, then that comes with a disk that you can actually boot off of, and it'll pull the appropriate files from your server. If you're using something else, something custom, you'll want to follow the instructions that came with that. But the benefit is incredibly fast boot times, incredibly fast app load times, and your laptop is shake and drop resistant, much more so than it was before. Let's fire it up and see how we do. I already cheated, loaded up the hard drive with all the backup and all that stuff that we need. As you can see, it's booting up now, OS X's installed, and my full backup from Time Capsule is already on here. Let's see, I timed it. It was about 17 seconds to boot yesterday when I tested it out. And apps loaded incredibly fast. I'll have full benchmarks in the post attached to the video, so you can check that out on tested.com. But Chrome launches really fast, Photoshop really fast. It still has to do all this thing. We get to see all the people who made it. So that's how to replace your laptop's traditional hard drive with a fancy new SSD. For tested.com, I'm Will Smith.